Hi, this is David at White's Ace Hardware at Geist. I thought it's a rainy day in the garden center, so let's talk tomatoes. And if you know me, that's one of my favorite topics to talk about. I love tomatoes. I grow tomatoes all the time. I've grown tomatoes for most of my life. My dad grew tomatoes. I love to experiment on new tomatoes. I make my own tomato sauce, my own tomato salsa. So let's talk tomatoes. First thing about tomatoes, if you look at the tag and you look towards the bottom, it's going to say determinate or indeterminate. One determinate means it grows to a certain height, produces during a certain amount of time, and then stops. Indeterminate means it keeps growing and growing and growing and keeps producing all year long. I like to buy. Now the difference is determinate produces a whole bunch at one time, so if you want to do canning, you get one of the determinants and they give you a whole big batch, and then you can them, and then you don't have to worry about it too much later on. Now they will continue to produce, but they slow down after they do their big batch. So I like it indeterminate because I grow about 30 different plants, probably 7-8 different varieties. I love to try new ones and stuff like that. I had a customer come in the other day, give me some varieties to try, so I'm getting excited to try that in my garden center. Now, other than determined and undetermined, there's a couple different choices here. We got your typical beefsteak tomatoes, which is the ones I'm looking at right now. The Kellogg's Breakfast is one of the best ones I've tasted. It's a good, nice beefsteak. A lot of times you have these. Now, the Kellogg's Breakfast is a yellow one. Yellows usually have less acid in them than the red ones. So, they give a little bit different taste, a little bit sweeter. Now the other ones I have, and I'm going to get a whole bunch of different varieties later on, but the other ones I got is Big Zack here and Mortgage Lifter. I have grown Mortgage Lifter, and that's a big, meaty tomato. You can look at the pictures on it, and it shows a nice, meaty texture to it. And that's kind of the texture of the beefsteaks. They're oftentimes more meatier. Then we come down to the Romas. These are the ones that you want to use for tomato sauce, for salsa, anything like this, because they're meaty, less seeds, less juice. So less juice means less cooking them out. So the one, I grew this one last year. This is a really good one. It produces a very big plant, very healthy plant, and very big tomatoes, paste tomatoes, Roma tomatoes. It's called Big Mama. This one I want to try this year. It's called the Giant Garden Paste Tomato. And the other one we'll have is called the Amish Paste. That's one of my favorite ones, is the Amish Paste, and we'll have that one there. Here's a typical one. A lot of people know San Marosa tomato. It's a typical one that a lot of people look at and buy, and I grew some of those last year, and they're pretty good. I still like the Big Mama and the Amish Paste better, though. Now here's a yellow one. It is called the Sunrise Sauce Tomato. And then we have the Speckled Roma. So if you want to try something new, some of these are nice. Now we get down to our slicers, what we call sandwich slicers. You slice them and put them on this hamburger or something like this. The Ruckers is one of the typical ones. If you've heard of Better Boy, we'll have some of those. We'll have a lot of the different slicers because people like those, put them on sandwiches and stuff, or just eat them like an apple right out of the garden. Here's a Jet Setter. That's another good one. Now we get to the cherry tomatoes. A lot of people like cherry tomatoes. You go out there and you just get a handful of them and you just pop them in your mouth like popcorn. My wife loves cherry tomatoes. She knows how I feel. Cherry tomatoes to me are like weeds. They crumb up all the time and they just produce and produce. I'd rather get a big slicer and eat it than get a handful of cherries. But I know people love the cherry tomatoes, so I'm not gonna disc them too much for that. So, but we got sweet chariot currant tomatoes. We got indigo cherry drop tomatoes. I've tried those. Those are not bad. The tropical sunset cherries are not bad either. So we got a lot of different cherry ones. And we got this one, which is called the Evil Evans Purple Pear Cherry Tomato. It's got a little dark on the top. I like the red ones a little bit more than the yellow ones, but each person has their own variety. Now we got something new this year. It's called the Dwarf Tomato Project. And what you see with these dwarf tomatoes is they only get 3 to 4, or 2 to 3 feet, 3 to 4 or 2 to 3 feet high. But they produce a lot of tomatoes in a small amount of area. They're a new project. They're actually come from the dwarf tomato project group. So they make different tomatoes. So we're gonna have a variety of these that you can try. And most of these right now are slicers, but we can get them in different types and stuff like that. So just wanted to share some of my knowledge of tomatoes. And if you want to talk more tomatoes, come on out. It's starting to rain, a little bit harder, so I'm getting out of the rain. So we'll see you soon. Have a good one.